Hi everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another royal news video. And you'll be pleased to know this video features Harry and Meghan minimally because I feel like we have been completely oversaturated, especially with Meghan in the past few weeks. So we are going to have a bit of a, I would call a metaphorical sage cleansing, and who better to cleanse us than Prince William, who yesterday had an epic day out, which culminated in him watching his favourite football team win 3-0 in last night's game against Club Brugge, earning their place into the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. Prince William was animated in the stands, and at one point I thought he was going to plant a big smacker on long-term friend Edward van Cutsem after nearly already knocking his drink out of his hand. No one can say that Prince William is faking his love for the sport and of course for Aston Villa. He was president of the Football Association for 20 years but stepped down and then into the role of royal patron last year, taking over from his late grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, who held the role for 70 years and handed over the trophy to Bobby Moore, famously the only time England have ever won the World Cup, and have sung that it's coming home ever since. And one day we will be victorious. Perhaps Prince William is a good luck charm for the team, having earlier popped in to say hello to everybody and to wish them luck because he was actually attending an engagement just 20 minutes down the road, where he was visiting the Sporting Causa FC in Willenhall, West Midlands. He was there to learn about their referee training course, the Reflective and Representative campaign, which is working alongside the Football Association to recruit 1,000 people from Black, Asian and mixed heritage backgrounds to become referees. This is also being run out of several other clubs around the country. The course was started back in 2023 and gives people the training to officiate football matches and teaching them how to be a referee. Prince William took part in one of the lessons and tried his hand at some of the various skills required and even refereed a mini game afterwards. All done with a great big grin on his face as he took part. So many people had turned out to meet the Prince on his arrival, and he said when he arrived at the grounds that he thinks that he has just broken the record for the number of high fives that he had to give, and there were a large number of hugs. He was absolutely mobbed by an adorable bunch of excited school children and adults. One woman in particular caught the Prince's eye and possibly everybody else's because she had her hair an incredible striking red colour, and he joked with her that his time has passed for him to be able to do such a thing with his own barnet, which as we know is a little bit sparse on top. I love the fact that Prince William can completely take the mickey out of himself. He doesn't take himself too seriously at all. But my favourite part of the interaction with this lady was when he noticed that she hadn't taken the picture on her phone.
Just come around though. No, you can take it. Oh! No, there you go. Press the button. You got it. You got it.
He thought about her enough, knowing that she would probably be really upset later to have that one moment in her life where she had Prince William around her, giving her a hug as she took a selfie, and to not have taken it. Many other celebrities would have just gone one and done. And I thought that was such a very sweet moment for him to do that, and the amount of hugs that he got off of children as well. But again, this is the difference of children wanting to hug him naturally compared to people asking children to hug them for photographs. Now, Harry has made a solo appearance, again at an event that Meghan did not attend, and this is the 805 Rock for First Responders benefit. Meghan was absent at the one held last year that Harry attended solo because Meghan apparently had a cold, or the children had a cold, and I just never really believed it. I think it's got a lot more to do with when she went to the one previously to that, you know, where she was photographed with Oprah, and I think Ellen was there, and of course with Kevin Costner, who hosts it every year on his polo grounds. Well, Meghan had the embarrassment, didn't she, of people running away with the microphone. Meghan tried to get it off of one lady who then faked that she was waving at someone else or the battery was gone on it. And then another time, Harry says to the man that was hosting it that had just handed the microphone to Harry, and Harry says, "Oh no, give it to my wife." He hugs the mic, shakes his head, and Meghan must be still sore about that. I mean, it was humiliating, especially because everybody saw it. The videos went up on social media, and then of course mainstream media ran with it, and I just can't help but feel it was all orchestrated, because these smirks from behind the scenes, because they know that Meghan takes over everything. They know that she will steal Harry's thunder and anybody's microphone given half the chance. So you can understand why Meghan is still perhaps sitting this one out. But as for Harry, he was there having his photographs taken, and he went, I guess, as like a celebrity edition, because there was a guitar being handed round which was going to be sold for auction, and Harry signed his signature alongside other celebrities, you know, people with actual careers and talents, which Harry, aside from being born to Princess Diana and King Charles, well, let's just say he hasn't got a lot, has he? I know people say, oh, Harry came up with the Invictus Games, but obviously you're not a regular viewer of my channel, because you should know that I know that Harry didn't create the Invictus Games. It was created for him, set up by the military, by the Royal Foundation, by teams of people and teams of staff. Harry just got to put his name to it to keep him out of trouble. Then when it came really to the Megxit, Harry was given the Invictus Games as basically his severance. You can take that, or he demanded to take that, and that is why the Invictus Games is the Harry and Meghan show, because it's no longer under the royal umbrella. But as for Harry signing this guitar, people were quick to point out that he's okay to sign a guitar alongside other celebrities, but when at the Invictus Games in February, someone there had asked him to sign a copy of Spare so that could be sold at auction to raise money for veterans, Harry refused to do so. It was very awkward. It was caught on camera. Harry was overheard saying, "Come find me later." Oh yeah, as if Harry was just walking around the Invictus Games, anybody could go up and approach him at any point. This was probably one of the only opportunities he was going to have to say, hey, here's the book, here's a pen, and he refused to do it. Now, not only was that pointed out, but also the fact that Harry is yet again sniffing around emergency first responders. We've seen a lot of this recently. Harry, didn't he, with the fires, he was holding court with police officers and then the fire services. And two things about this. Firstly, there is the fact that Prince William is held in high regard and he is patron of the paramedics, and I can't help but feel that Harry's jealousy is shining through there. A big difference between the brothers, and the list is pretty huge, is the fact that Prince William was an emergency services worker himself. He spent several years working as an air ambulance pilot, took part in lots of rescue operations and saved lots of people's lives. He understands the pressures, he understands the strain that having such a stressful job like this can put on individuals. And this is the difference between the brothers. Prince William is focused on working with mental health support for emergency workers because he understands and he cares, whereas I believe Harry is there for his own personal gain. It is actually rumoured, again, circulating, the reason why Harry is now pushing himself onto emergency first responders is because he's trying to push Better Up. You know, that company that he's the chimpo for, the chief impact officer. Apparently they're now making him work for his dollars. And Harry's not exactly a walking billboard for good mental fitness now, is he? I mean, I've said this before, but it's the best way that I can think of describing it. It's like Hannibal Lecter pushing veganism. It just doesn't quite marry up with each other. Now, of course, that's not been reported by mainstream media, but it has been circulating on social media. That's actually what he's up to, and it makes sense. But it really does highlight Harry's fall from grace. In 2015 or 16, he was tipped as one of the most popular royals, only next to the Queen. He trumped his father, he trumped his brother, and in less than 10 years, Harry has gone from that position to being little more than a pyramid scheme salesman. Harry doesn't come across as someone to me that's living his best life. And not only that, considering he's done so many sly attacks on his brother, the state of his brother's marriage, the fact that William and Catherine didn't marry for love, Harry seems like he's the one constantly having to try and prove to the world how happy he is, where his brother and his sister-in-law, well, they don't need to prove anything. And judging by the way that those two were looking at each other throughout the Commonwealth service on Monday, I can honestly see who is winning at life and who is losing. Now, speaking of which, I'm going to end the video talking about Commonwealth Day, which is held on the second Monday of March every year. It is the annual celebration of all of the Commonwealth nations and is a huge part of Queen Elizabeth II's legacy. When she took to the throne in 1952, there were only 7 countries, 7 Commonwealth countries. And when she had her coronation, she had floral tributes for each of those 7 countries stitched into her coronation gown. During the 70 years that Queen Elizabeth was the head of the Commonwealth, that number of countries increased from 7 to 56. And this is a huge sticking point for people that went off Harry and Meghan. And I'm just going to retell a little bit of this because there are some people now that have only recently started following Harry and Meghan, and they are caught up in the narrative that Meghan was run out of the UK because she was biracial, that people in the UK never accepted her, she was never given a chance. Meghan was given so many chances and she had such an unbelievable welcome. And it's a narrative that really irritates me, but more so because of the destruction that they tried to cause to the Queen's legacy with regards to the Commonwealth. When Meghan got married to Harry back in 2018, everybody said what a sweet nod that she did, because in her huge over-the-top wedding veil, she had 53, because there were only 53 countries that had signed up to the Commonwealth then, she had flowers representing each country stitched into her veil. People said, oh, it was a nod to the Queen. I now, knowing Meghan and the way that she behaved, I think it was that to the Queen, especially because, as we now know, that the Queen had said that she would prefer it if Meghan didn't have a veil. Meghan didn't just have a veil, she had the biggest veil, and then she copied the idea of the Queen with the Commonwealth countries. But at this point, nobody really knew what a nasty person that she intended to be to the Queen. But the Queen welcomed Meghan, and the Commonwealth Trust was another one of her babies. And what she did, she allowed Meghan to not just join Harry, but she created a position within that charity as the vice president of the Queen's Commonwealth Trust. The charity supports 18 to 35-year-olds who are social entrepreneurs working to transform their communities across the Commonwealth nations. She made a role specifically for Meghan to welcome her. They went over and above to make sure that Meghan was happy, she felt included, more so than any other royal bride. Meghan was given so much more than Catherine, Sophie, Fergie, Diana. She was spoiled rotten by the royal family to make her feel welcomed. And do you know how she repaid the Queen for that? Well, it wasn't just Netflix, it was also what they did the moment that they moved to America after Megxit. They started to stir up racial tensions and race baiting at a time when tensions were already high because of the Black Lives Matter movement, because of George Floyd. They spoke of unconscious bias, historical injustices, and this was all on a Zoom call to the Queen's Commonwealth Trust. Harry and Meghan completely overstepping their roles of what they were actually meant to do and showing that they had absolutely no understanding of the Commonwealth. They were meant to be encouraging young people to move forward and to work together to find solutions, not create division. This only got worse with Oprah and with Netflix, where they tried to associate the Queen's legacy with the British Empire, links to slavery and colonialism. It was another unforgivable act that those two did to try and hurt the Queen. And they only decided to do all of these attacks once they had their privileges stopped after the Sandringham summit. And I will never forget this, and I will always bring it up to remind people. They weren't talking about that they had been abused and left to fend for themselves, and suicide and racism and all of the horrible things that they came out with on Oprah. They had a year, and they only started with that narrative when the Queen pulled the rug out from under them. There are so many things that Harry and Meghan did to hurt the royal family, but I think the majority of people that do not forgive them is what they actually did to this woman who went out of her way to make Meghan feel accepted. And Meghan spat it all in her face and then tried to tarnish what was the final few years of Queen Elizabeth's life. And this is why many people do not forgive Harry and Meghan for the attacks. It wasn't just about slighting their family, airing their dirty laundry. What they tried to do to this lady was completely unforgivable. Needless to say, Harry and Meghan were not missed from the Commonwealth Day or from the Queen's Commonwealth Trust. And every single year, Westminster Abbey puts on a beautiful service that celebrates and recognises the incredible diversity of the Commonwealth nations. There is a wonderful combination of performances from singers and choirs and dancers, readings and prayers from the many different nations. And of course, the added bonus, we get to see the royal family. The King and Queen were in attendance, Camilla looking lovely in this pink outfit. Love her hat, really pretty colour on her. The King looked so well, sharing a lovely kiss with his son as they arrived. Princess Anne was also there watching Catherine give a rather graceful curtsy to His Majesty, as were the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. Catherine looked absolutely spectacular in her red Catherine Walker coat, accessorised with a matching red pillbox hat, and she was wearing Queen Elizabeth's 4-row Japanese pearl choker. That piece of jewellery always looks absolutely stunning on Catherine whenever she wears it. Prince William, of course, looking incredibly handsome as he escorted his wife into the service, and I have to say, throughout, that jawline, that beard, I know I say it every time, but that man is definitely aging like a fine wine. They are such a beautiful couple, the energy between them. They don't need to paw at each other. They don't need to give each other kisses and hold hands in front of the public. Just the little glances between them of them playfully smiling at each other. It's enough. Harry once famously told Oprah that his father and his brother are trapped. And I'll tell you what, hands down, I'd rather be trapped like they are than be free like Harry is. Because every time I see Harry, he doesn't exactly look like that he's living his best life. So guys, of course, no sympathy from me. He's made his bed, he can lay in it. But as for the video, I am done and I will be back with you very soon. Chat to you in the comments. Take care for now. Bye.